Thank you. We might as well do one other email I had this week to sort of kick off the second half of this. Question. It took me an hour to listen to your discussion on impersonalization. Do I understand this correctly? My husband is infested with the beliefs that you need to be careful, pay attention to your surroundings, be more aware of your circumstances, don't damage anything. So if he imposes those beliefs on me, it isn't personal. This list of beliefs he has is not personal to me any more than disease is personal to me. He's infested with the beliefs and concepts of Chubb. In other words, he's a puppet for Chubb, and the beliefs are all based in fear. Without these beliefs, he would be free of the infestation and be a puppet for God. But right now, he's at that level of unfoldment. Yeah, that's essentially right. Infested with or conditioned by, he believes the things that human consciousness has been telling him for his however many years, and the fact that he has those beliefs is not it has nothing to do with you at all. Certainly, absolutely impersonal to you. That's what he believes, because that's the way he was brought up. She goes on to say, also when you were discussing that Hitler had no responsibility and that we aren't responsible for the lack of supply, disease, poor personality traits, hatred, isn't it more accurate to say we are 100% responsible but not at fault because of our ignorance of our Chubb infestation? A very moot point. Yeah, I guess the question is, to what percent are you responsible for the fact that you've been conditioned by Chubb? If you're going to be 100% responsible, then you have to believe that you had some alternative to, at some point, an alternative to being conditioned by Chubb. The fact is that there's no responsibility. There's no responsibility at all. The whole problem is ignorance, and we are not responsible for our ignorance. That's what's been taught to us for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and now, especially in the media blitz by everything is available, they're conditioning us, and most people are completely ignorant of the fact that they're being given all these false lies. So I would not say he was responsible for having those beliefs, but on the other hand, whenever you catch yourself in having one of your own, then from that point on you are responsible for that, because now you're no longer ignorant and now you need to start retraining. But anybody want to comment on that? Jump in?
I do, Denise. What you just said, I thought that's a really, really powerful statement. It just kind of goes by really easy. But I think the point at which, I remember a long time ago, you told me that I'd done the best I could raising my son. And I said, no, I didn't, because I knew better, and I tried, and I went to all these, therapists and parent effectiveness training, and you said, no, you did the very best you could based on where your consciousness was at the time. And the point at which you become responsible, to me, that's a really big deal for me, thinking about that. I mean, that's like,
There is no point at which you become responsible. Because there is no you separate and apart from God. For you to be responsible, there has to be a you who has had the option of behaving differently at some point in his or her life. And I'm still not really ready to spend the afternoon on free will, but the therapist you chose and the therapist you didn't choose, and all of this was not a choice you made. This was what you were conditioned to do, thanks to those people who were influencing you. And it's the best you could do at the time, you know. And it's just, and there is no one independent of God that can do things differently. And we would need somebody who could do things differently before we make them responsible for the behaviors, don't we?
Right.
Yeah, the whole question, we just love to beat ourselves up with 100% responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Floor is open for absolutely anything.
Hey, Lee, it's Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hey. I don't know if it would be on the same line, but, you know, last weekend, Anne had this garden tour at the house, and the whole thing started basically with an email she sent you of a dead bee.
Of what?
You know, and of a dead bee.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
You remember?
Uh-huh.
You know, is the bee dead? It's an illusion. And, you know, sometimes I can get there with certain things, like with my son and the whole ADHD and the medicine, and not believing in that, and it just doesn't exist in our house anymore. And then there's other times, you know, if I feel an aching pain, I will go for an ibuprofen, but then, I'm sorry, I'm going to wrap it back around to, you know, this being an illusion. So, you know, sometimes I struggle with different issues as far as the child beliefs and it being an illusion. But I did want to say it was incredible for me to watch this because, again, I knew how this all started with a picture going to you of this dead bee, and watching over 350 people tour a garden that is open and pollinators and it was just absolutely incredible because I kind of had that inside scoop on how the whole thing came about. But it was pretty neat, and it went along with that. And I don't know if you remember, it coincided with the appearance of her having a broke leg, so she was able to, slow down from work and then go outside and got or orchestrated all this. So I just had to, share that. That was a pretty neat thing, being in this for a minute, knowing all that. So. Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch. Other than I was a little embarrassed because other than being a greeter at AA, they were coming up and I was like, welcome, and at one point I was like, keep coming back. And I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to share that. It was a really cool experience. So I'm glad to be a part of that.
Yeah. Good for you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Anne's kind of worth supporting. How cool.
I would concur with that.
Yeah, how cool.
Hey, it's Patty.
Hi, Patty.
Hi. I was just sitting here thinking about things that I have been working on and seem to be at a stalemate on, and I thought I would mention them. I'm sure they have a lot to do with kids, which was why I was hesitating to mention them, but is that okay if I share about those?
Sure, absolutely. Wide open.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's not a kid class, but
It's a life class.
okay. So, I do have a son who's taking ADHD medication. I had, I guess, a chub moment when he turned 16 and started driving, and it just got the best of me. I mean, I went his entire life until 16 without doing it, and then just the whole driving thing, I went into fear, and he's taking it. And it's difficult for me because his teachers all saw a huge improvement, so, I'm just being honest. That's where I am. I can't bring myself to take him off of it right now, but I grapple with it kind of every day. And the other thing is my brother has had the appearance of severe depression, I guess it is, for many, many years, and it has increased significantly, and at this point, he's been in and out of hospitals, and at this point, he's been in the hospital for, probably 1 or 2 months, and it appears as though he is, slowly losing his mind, literally. And his girlfriend has this family group message thing that I have tried to get out of. They're very difficult to get out of. Every time I get out of one, I find myself being added to another one. And these are constant updates on how he's doing. And I guess I lied a little bit. I mean, I could get off the one now, and I'm not getting off of it. And I was advised by somebody in this group to get off of them altogether. And that's another thing that I can't seem to. I'm just in this place where I know I probably should, because it just makes it more difficult to stay out of touch with that. It's very difficult to not buy into the appearance every time I get one of these emails. And then the fear is that something's going to happen to him if I get off of these messages, that he's going to die, and then I'm going to feel terrible.
Well, now wait.
Not that there's...
Everything was cool. Everything was cool right up to that statement, but...
Yeah, well, that's just how my kids feel, you know.
Okay, so work with your kid there.
Yeah.
You don't have that kind of power, obviously, so
Yeah.
that's a great opportunity to work with your kid every time that comes up, and don't let that influence your behavior as far as the emails.
Staying on the messages, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. You know, and then I've toyed with the idea of going to visit him, and I'm really trying to check in with myself as to, you know, what my motive would be to do that, what my intention is, you know, whether it's coming from guilt, whether that will reinforce the appearance to me. You know, I'd be curious what your thoughts are on that, as far as visiting people in those conditions.
A very personal thing, and your initial question is correct. Why would you be going there? Yeah, what can I say?
Yeah.
If it's a loving thing to, you know, it's potentially a loving thing to do, but if you're going there out of love, then, you know, I mean, it's not a bad screw up to act out of love, you know, so.
Right.
But, yeah, I have no idea about stuff like that. In any event, it's a kid that's worrying about whether she should go or not.
Yeah.
If you go with him, God knows whether you should be there or not. Either it's part of Omni activity or it isn't. And so if you go with him and get quiet and go if you're led to, that would be the ultimate answer. But you know, all of these questions are our kid. You know, what will they think of me if I don't? And what will they think of me?
Exactly.
What will they think of me if I cross my name off this list? They'll think I don't care, and
You got it.
and you know, and they can't possibly. I mean, the real reason you don't want to be on that list is because you don't believe it, but you can't possibly communicate that to them. So you're at an impasse there. So there's a app for your computer called Spam Sieve.
Spam what?
Sieve, S-I-E-V-E,
Okay.
and you can train it to, what it does is it operates after the junk mail guy operates it. When the mail actually gets, the non-junk mail gets sent to you, then Spam Sieve goes through all your mail and takes another look at it. And you could train Spam Sieve to always throw out, it has a learning feature. You know, if you find something from them, then you just go above and train Spam Sieve to reject as junk, you know. And so you can train Spam Sieve to throw out all that kind of crap, and nobody will ever know you did it. But it will not show up.
Okay.
It will not show up in your inbox. For me, I find that, yeah, I spend $10 a month to get 15 or 20 things a day thrown out of my inbox,
Okay.
and it's quite good, and it learns. So you could get that and just essentially add them to your shit list, and they'll disappear, and nobody will know you did that because, you know, there's no way for them to see that.
Yeah. And I can be I'm more helpful from what my understanding of it. I'm being more, well, helpful is not the right word, but I'm having more of an impact by remembering the truth about him, and I can do that whether I'm here or whether I'm in front of him in a hospital room.
In fact, you could probably do it a lot better here rather than in a hospital room.
Right. Right. Then I'll be me.
That's certainly correct.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And now you only have to deal with the kid. What will the others think? And that's an opportunity to work with your kid so that she doesn't get to run your life.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of work.
Always. There's an infinite amount of work to do, but it gets easier, you know, and once you're in the habit of looking forward to these opportunities to work with your kids, why, they go pretty quickly. Just getting free.
Yeah, most of them I do. This one's just particularly tough. I'll see where I'm supposed to be.
Yep. And work with your kid, get free so that you're not restricted by worrying about what people will think if you show up at one place or not at another, you know. So you want to get free of all of that, and then when you're free of any kid's opinion about it, then you can take a step back and do the loving and compassionate thing, which is a nice place to come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do all that. You're very good at this kind of stuff. You can do that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of putting the time in, which I haven't.
Every time, take 3 minutes and do it.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else?
Hi, Lee, it's Stacy.
Hey, Stacy, why aren't you here?
It's weird to share on the phone. I wasn't able to come for the whole time, so I just did the phone.
Okay.
But this is different to share on the phone. But I had a huge script event this weekend. And I just don't really know how to work with the kids. The script that hasn't come up forever actually, that I can think of in the last few years. But I was at a Girl Scout camping trip, and I took a little girl with my daughter, her little friend, and her mom didn't come, so I was to watch over her. And she is high functioning autism. She has high-functioning autism, and she was staying with me most of the time. But Saturday morning, other moms were there to watch her too, and she wandered off, and she was gone for an hour. And it tapped in, I couldn't really pinpoint what it tapped into. I just knew I felt sick. And I felt like I just wanted to anesthetize myself. A man brought her back, but it was one of the most terrifying hours of my life, because I told this woman I'd watch her kid, and we were in the forest, and we didn't know where she was. So when I came home, it finally came clear to me that this was all a big script. My brother, when he committed suicide, he told me he was going to do it, and I didn't do anything. I was only 20. I didn't know to lock him up for 72 hours. I didn't know, so I didn't do anything. And it's this little girl fell in a river, climbed up a mountain or half a little tiny hill, was on the side of the road waving help, and a man put her in his car and drove her back. But just what could have happened was it made me so ill, and it tapped into this part of me that I won't do something correct, or I won't do enough, and somebody's going to die, or somebody's going to get hurt. And I just realized I have about 4 scripts that are connected to this, my daughter's weight, our debt. If I don't manage and control enough, that something's going to happen. And this event kind of triggered the whole thing, and I see it clearly. and I see that it's not true, and then I probably couldn't have talked my brother out of committing suicide, even if I locked him up in a hospital. And, you know, I do feel guilty about the little girl. I probably should have never let her leave my side at all. But it's just like this, I can't really tell the kid part of me that if you just let go of control, it's all going to work out how it's supposed to, and just sit back and relax. I think that to myself, but like she doesn't believe it.
Uh-huh.
She believes that she almost got a little girl lost forever, or like kidnapped by a weirdo. And I mean, where my mind went was so, you know, my mind went everywhere. And but the fact is, a nice person brought her back, and she was okay, and the mom like understood. But it's what could happen that just made me ill. And I think if I don't do enough, my daughter is going to be obese and she's going to want to kill herself one day. Or if I don't do enough about the debt, we're going to, I don't know. It's just like this terror, you know, and it's just this situation tapped into it so big. I mean, I came home, I dropped the kids off, and I went and I got ice cream because I can't drink, I can't smoke. Oh, and there's a lot of alcohol at this camping trip. And it's like I anesthetized myself, and then this morning I went to yoga, and then it came clear that that was the script. Mm-hmm. That you're not going to do enough, and somebody's going to die.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, this is an interesting script because it's a big one. I had the rejection one, but this is huge because one of the most painful events was my brother dying. So I don't really know how to work with the kid because I keep saying, hey, you know what? Just sit back and relax. It all turns out. Don't worry. But then I go back to, no. You have to control and manage everything. I don't know.
Yeah, and here's a fundamental problem. You're not gonna, well, I don't know how to even say this, but like, the teaching is not that the kid can just sit back and everything's going to turn out okay, because that's what people have been doing for the 10,000 years I was talking about earlier, and everything is not okay. So the teaching is not that you can just sit back and everything's going to be okay. The teaching is that everything is okay right now, regardless of what we see, and you're never going to convince your kid of that fact. And the kid has no, and you're not trying to raise your kid spiritually. You're trying to get rid of your kid's terror. So, sort of interesting.
I started thinking like everyone's got their own God, and kind of like just trusting the God part that it's all helps to see.
But there is no God separate from you that she can just trust. There is no such God.
Right.
So
yeah,
I know. The whole point is that the work with your kid. My work with my kid has to be that I will provide you with everything you need. I will take care of you. I will never leave you or forsake you. I, the spiritual adult.
No matter what happens.
No matter what happens. And that's what you should be working on convincing your kid of, is that I will take care of it. And rather than trying to convince her that there's some God out there somewhere that's going to take care of her, because the evidence is contrary to that, I
guess it also triggered like guilt, like it was my fault.
Her guilt. Your
And
kid's
it-
guilt.
Her guilt, yeah, and it's like I'm trying to like say I'm here and it's not your fault, but I guess I have a lot of guilt about my brother, and
Your kid does.
yes, my kid does.
Okay. And
So I'm trying to like work with that part, and because
Alright.
this whole thing, like when I said, "Oh, this girl, how am I going to explain this to this mom? How am I going to?"
here we are once again. What percentage of the responsibility do you have for your brother's suicide?
I feel like I have some sort of responsibility, even though when I look at it, I know.
Your kid does. Don't say I have. I say your kid. My kid feels like she has some responsibility.
My kid feels like she has a lot of responsibility.
Okay, ask her
In that.
ask her what she could have done differently.
Well, I always do that, and I always think I could have put him in a hospital.
But you didn't. Why
I
didn't
could
you?
have.
Why didn't she?
I didn't know. I didn't know how to do that yet. I know now, but
So she's
But-
responsible
yeah.
for doing things she doesn't know about.
right.
So she's responsible for her ignorance.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
And she's not. Work on. Everybody's always doing the very best they can, given the current level of their conditioning and their information and everything else. She couldn't ever have done anything different, and you can explore that at great length, but she could not have done anything different. If she had known that was important, she would have done it. So she didn't know that was important. If she didn't know that's important, she didn't know.
I guess the part of it I have a hard time with is the fear that I'm not going to know what the best thing is, and that turns to terror.
You're often not going to know what the best thing is.
That's terrifying to me because,
No,
like,
it's terrifying. It's terrifying to your
to my kid.
To your kid,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
because she doesn't trust you. Start taking care of yourself. You have to demonstrate the presence of God. And this is not something you can start doing tomorrow, but you have to demonstrate 24/7 the presence of God in your kid's life. And she will see that, and this whole thing will get resolved. But you can't do that, of course, because you're too busy doing everything else, like we all are. But still, that has to be your goal.
Well, I guess this whole thing with this little girl, it's like she was with me the night before, she was staying with me most of the time, then she wandered away, and it's like, I didn't do the right thing, like I should have kept her with me, and it's like, and then I'm so afraid, like, I'm like not going to do the right thing for my own kids, and
Your
I'm going to
kid
miss
is so
something.
afraid.
It's just
Quit saying I. You're not allowed to use that pronoun anymore in this conversation. Your kid is so afraid that she's going to do the wrong thing, but your kid is doing the best she could. And obviously, you were not vigilant every second of the hour in which she wandered off. And perhaps next time that you undertake something like this, you'll find a way to make yourself vigilant, but you didn't know you were going to do that. You act like things could be different, and they can't.
yeah. I don't know. I'm confused now, but I'm just gonna. I don't know. Maybe I just need to be quiet about it more.
Get some adulting gear, and then write to her.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Lee, it's Bridget.
Hey, Bridget, hi! Wow.
I know.
Yay.
I know. I'm like listening to classes on Mondays or Tuesdays after they've been recorded. But I'm here alive listening. It's so cool. But
I'm very happy.
previous share, I just wanted to share an experience that happened to me like a decade ago where it was so cool because I never gotten so scared in my life because I came out of I let my little boys go sit in the car because they were done, and we're at this restaurant, Mexican restaurant, and I'm in a small town, and so I'm like, cool, go ahead, here's the keys. And so, about 15 minutes later, I go out to the car, and the car is locked, and I knock on the window, and I'm like, where are they? And immediately I went into fear because they got the car keys and the car is locked and no one is answering my knock on the window. And I was really engaged in the scripting kid work. I mean, I was so engaged in it, and I was like, okay, first things first, like Joel and Lee and everything that I've ever been taught was, I gotta deal with the human condition here in the moment, And I called Lee, and he said, call the sheriff department. And then I got silent. But I went over to, I thought, well, maybe they went up to the sportsplex where the soccer, indoor soccer. So I checked there, and I came back. I called the sheriff. The sheriff came, and they had the floodlight on in the car, and there's, no sign. And there's these apartments in the back. So my mind now, my, fearful kid is going into this place. And all of a sudden, it just occurred to me, get silent. Get silent. And I just sat down on the ground. I mean, I must have looked insane because I just sat down and I went into silence. And instantaneously, I hear the sheriff says, oh, I saw stirring in the back. So they knocked on the glass, and the boys were asleep under a blanket. You couldn't see them. They were fast asleep, and so they were so oblivious, they were staying asleep. The sheriff was like, okay, all is good. My ex-husband showed up, he was like, he had no emotion at all, which was really more shocking to me, that he was just nothing there. And then everybody dispersed, and my boys climbed into their car seats, had no clue. I got into the car and pretended nothing happened, just drove home. Never told them the story until a couple of years later, because I didn't want to create any fear around not feeling safe.
Right. Good.
And what's so cool about it is that it was just instantaneous. I didn't have anything else I could do but go into the silence, because Lee says, I'm there with you. I'm with you, and hang up and call the sheriff. Mm-hmm. And then I just think. What I'm saying is that sometimes I don't think we can lift ourselves, on our own. It's like it almost takes that contact with someone else who has conscious contact, who doesn't see the experience or sound the emotion or can't, possibly, and then it's like I tap into their consciousness, and I was, immediately told to sit down and be in the silence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was instantaneous. As soon as I dropped into silence, the sheriff was like, there in the back, there's a stirring in the back, And it was but it was such a great experience to know that I'm going to live with this kid aspect that has this, child is operating through the emotion of the kid, but I can step back and say, what is the right action? And that is to reach for the hand of God, go into the silence, drop all concern, Mm-hmm. And that's when I go, I'm standing on holy ground now, Even though part of me is just wanting to, just everything is going crazy. I'm already thinking of, they've been taken and there's, rape involved. I mean, I've gone there. My mind is just, part of it's going there. I'm not going to chase it. I can't stop it, but I can just take a step and go, I'm going this way.
Yeah.
I have to go this way because this is what only way I know to go now. So it's just something I wanted to share because it was one of those big events, They're the big ones, you know?
Yeah.
They're the traumatic ones.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, and you're exactly right, you know. Sometimes you need to reach out to somebody to get lifted a little bit. If you're in the fear, then call somebody who isn't. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you're with us.
Thanks for sharing that.
You're
Thank you, Bridget.
Somebody needs to mute their phone, please. Thank you. Well, there's still some time if somebody else wants to jump in. Well, thank you all very much. See you next week. Love you all.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
You bet.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.